On today's show, we'll look back at the highs and lows of a 1-1 weekend where the Ottawa Senators beat the Nashville Predators, then fell to the New York Islanders.
And we'll take a look at head coach Travis Green's interesting press conference.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms do apply. Today is Monday, December 9th, and Pilsy, what was a all-in-all even weekend in terms of win one, lose one, I still woke up with such a sour taste in my mouth after the way that game played out against the Isles.
Yeah, it's games like this, Ross, where the opportunities are handed to the Sens on a silver platter. You look at an Islanders team that, same as a couple weeks ago when the Sens lost to them, is missing most of their high talented offensive forwards, half their decor, and on the second half of a back-to-back. Now, obviously the Sens were as well, but it's a lot easier when you're at home for both of those back-to-back games, whereas the Islanders have to come to Ottawa on the road, and you're not able to get 2 points. Heck, you're not even able to get 1 point up against the overtime shootout lost point merchants as the New York Islanders. So certainly a disappointing loss, Ross, where this team, their full effort deserved more than that, but there's two particular areas where they just fell apart, and that cost them the game.
Well, let's start with the team-based one, which is the penalty kill. They are just so bad on the penalty kill, and it hasn't just been a one-game thing. This has been an ongoing issue for the Ottawa Senators, who have given up how many power play goals in the last 10 games? There's only been 2 games individually in which they haven't given up a power play goal, and then there's been 2 games with a pair of power play goals against. So in the last 10 games, the Senators have allowed 10 power play goals against. How do you fix something that is so consistently their Achilles heel? It's actually been 11 power play goals against in the last 11 games on 32 opportunities, Pilsy. That is just absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, I think Nolan Baumgartner is going to have a lot of work to do with this penalty kill. The Palmieri goal just can't happen. I think it was Chabot and Jensen. They kind of had an awkward switch in that diamond position, and neither of them really knew who needs to cover the net and who needs to go out to Palmieri. And the thing is, too, that's one where you got to be aware of the situation. Palmieri, I know he's obviously in the back half of his career, but this guy's a bona fide sniper. Like he's a guy with a good shot. You cannot give him that much time and space, and he gets too much time and space, and he's able to rip one past Forsey. Now, obviously, that's one. It's a clean look. You want Forsey to at least get a piece of that or fully save it. Maybe that would be awesome. Maybe that's asking too much, but
especially with 6 minutes left in the third period, tie game. Like let's bear down a little bit here and make a save.
Well, and we're going to get to that. But you look at this, Ross, let's stick on the penalty kill for now. Well, Forsberg, your best penalty killer usually has to be your goalie, so that's a fair point. But you're going up against a team that is the worst power play in the entire league, and they go 2 for 2, 100%.
100%.
Like, that is just simply unacceptable, and they've got to make big changes, whether it's changing the strategy and the formation. They've been working on this diamond PK formation. Maybe that's
it sucks.
Not going to be successful.
They're so passive on the penalty kill. They just say, hey, you want to walk in? Go ahead. And if you're going to be passive, at least tie up the front of the net. Nick Jensen didn't do that on the first goal against, Jake Sanderson didn't do that on the first goal against. Like, guys are, and Nick Jensen didn't do it on the second goal of the game. Wasn't power play, but that's the Achilles heel of this team is their penalty kill absolutely sucks. They're 65% in the last 11 game sample size. Like, what's the best power play in the National Hockey League right now clicking at for the season? 32%. Well, power plays against the Ottawa Senators in the last 11 games is at 35%.
Yeah.
It's not going to cut it. And then the battle level in front of the net, how many goals are just tapped in right in front with the Senator defenseman right there? And everyone wants to blame Travis Hamonic, but there's a lot more issues on the back end than just him. We're giving Jake Sanderson quite a pass, I feel like, this year based on what he's performed in the past. This guy's been an absolute zero over the last month. Like, he's not putting anything up offensively, and in his own zone, he's a mess too. There's something going on right now, because since the game in Calgary where Sanderson did get 2 assists, finally getting his second even strength point of the season, he's got 0 points in his last 6 games. That's 141 minutes of time on ice. Like, he's still getting out there more than any other defenseman on the Ottawa Senators. Yeah. There's just nothing to show for it. Nothing.
Now, Ross, obviously you can look at the formation and the strategy of the penalty kill being like, we got to switch that up. But does any part of you look at it and say, maybe we got to switch the players that are on the power play unit or
penalty kill? Yeah. I mean, I've liked the Norris-Giroux combo that they trot out there shorthanded. I think that they've been good at blocking shots and clearing the zone. But for me, it's on the back end because the guy's net front, and it's the strategy. You can have different players out there, but they're being told to stay in a passive diamond formation, which is opening up the flanks to walk right in. And we keep seeing that, whether it's a little bump play down low, and that's a hard one to defend, but still, if the guy's tied up in front of the net, it saves all the trouble of having a guy trying to get there. So I'm just at a loss for why they're allowing time and space, which are the 2 things you have to take away from talented players. And whenever a team has a power play, they put their most talented players on the ice. So to give them extra time and space when they already have a man advantage is a recipe for disaster. And you're seeing this now cost the Ottawa Senators a hockey game that they should have won. I mean, we're 7 minutes into the show. We haven't talked about how phenomenal they looked offensively and how they just carried play throughout this game against the Islanders. But you give up 12 shots, you got to get a save. You have to. You can't be 9 saves in the game. This guy had single-digit saves. He played the whole game. What are we doing? Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have any sort of spin zone to defend Anton Forsberg here. He was not good enough, not even close. The only thing I would say, Ross, is you look at a guy like Forsberg, and he's one of those goalies that usually has a lot more success when he's facing a lot more shots. And
so he should be on a rebuilding team then.
Exactly.
Because he is what this Ottawa Senators franchise is trying to get away from. Yeah. And I mean no disrespect to the guy. I've heard he's an awesome dude, works hard, loves the game. But he has these moments of, oh my God, he's back. 2 shutouts this year. Well, guess what? In the other 9 games, there's been 1 with an above 890 save percentage. He has just crumbled under any sort of pressure to make consistent saves and give confidence to the team. I mean, he is as old regime as it gets, and I think it's time to look somewhere else. The only thing is there's like 10 teams right now that feel like they don't have goaltending. Just ask the Colorado Avalanche. They went out and got Scott Wedgwood to save the day for them.
Which actually has been working out. He just got a shut up against the New Jersey Devils. But yeah, that's the issue. And it's kind of like
I feel so bad saying it. Like, we like Forsey.
Yeah.
But like at some point you got to call a spade here. That's 11 starts for him this year, and he has 4 wins.
Yeah, and 2 of them shutouts. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's kind of like what was going on with DJ. DJ was a coach that was brought in to bring this team through the rebuild. And then he was asked to do more after the rebuild. And it was clear that that's not the kind of coach you needed. And it's similar to Forsey. Like Forsberg was a great maybe is pushing it, but he was the right type of goalie for this team when they were in a rebuild. You pick him up off waivers. He excels when there's lots of shots being up against him. But now that's not the way, and that's not the expectations that this Ottawa Senators team has. And clearly it's not working out. Now, mind you, he's got 1 year left, but it's at 2.75. So if you're looking to make a goalie swap similar to what the Colorado Avalanche did, I believe they traded Noonan back to Preds, right?
And a pick.
Yeah, so if you're looking to make a deal like that, how many teams are going to be stoked about picking up a guy that's been very bad this year, apart from 2 shutouts, and has a 2.75 cap hit to it? You're going to have to retain salary or add a pick to that. And they're not going to be giving up a goalie of high quality. You're going to hope that you're going to catch a guy that can find lightning in a bottle, and that a new change of scenery will help ignite him and bring him to a better spot. Like, I don't know what the Ottawa Senators are going to do with goaltending, because I also am a little bit nervous about riding Linus Ullmark too much, because if something happens with him, Ross, we've seen it. The Ottawa Senators have arguably gone through more goalie injuries and more goalie difficulty than any other team in the league in the last couple of years. So if you ride Ullmark too hard and he plays well but then gets hurt, I mean,
but you can't play not to get hurt. You can't play not to get hurt.
Definitely, Ross. But you also can't just have a plan A and push that plan A so hard, and then if something happens to that plan A, you just collapse. You can't rely on that either.
Well, one of the young guys could come up and grab the bull by the horns. We'll get to the prospect updates and discuss Levi Merilainen and Matt Sogard, who may be returning from injury sooner rather than later. You got Malcolm Subban down there. He's got, 50 games of NHL experience?
Well, you have to restructure his contract.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, especially you could eat half.
But is that your answer? That's your answer?
No. Well, the answer is not Anton Forsberg. In the last 5 starts since his shutout against Seattle, but 5-game sample size, an .862 save percentage.
Yeah.
What are we doing with that? The only win was against Calgary, and even then, there were a few saves that were miraculous, and that wasn't because of solid positioning. Yeah. That's because he had to reach back and catch one off the goal line, and even with that save, he had a below 900
and they almost let it slip away.
What are we doing here? Yeah. The standard needs to be raised within this organization. I've had enough of they'll be okay. Let's shepherd them along. It's okay. We'll be better. 9 out of 10 times we win that game, said head coach Travis Green. What do we think about those comments and an overall awkward post-game press conference? That's next. We'll wrap up today's show with a weekly Senators prospect update. And I don't know if you've seen this clip yet, Pillsy, from the Ottawa 67's teddy bear toss featuring Sens prospect Gabriel Eliasson, but it is hockey at its finest. All right, that's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mint Mobile. Look, guys, I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not about to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a couple bucks. It's got to be easier than that. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get a wireless plan for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, that's a deal that I'm interested in. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, even the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number along with all your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. You want to get those tickets to a live event? Go check out Gametime, because Gametime will get you last-minute tickets at the lowest prices for theater, music, comedy, and, of course, sports. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff and only shows you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can check out the panoramic views from your seat on the app before you buy and toggle on the all-in pricing feature. That way, there's no hidden fees. Gametime also has the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, so take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Because you listen to Locked On Senators, let's get you a $20 discount code. Download the Gametime app, Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Philzy. So that was covering the loss. We should have a little quick note on the win for the Ottawa Senators, 3-1 against the Nashville Predators, a game they carried the entire way. However, maybe a little bit of a slip at the end. Linus Ullmark there to clean it up. Unfortunately, doesn't get the shutout. Late goal with just under 2 minutes left broke that. But as much as we talk about Forsberg struggling, Linus Ullmark has figured out where his game's at.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been amazing over the last couple games, and this is why you went out and you got a former Vezina winning goalie, and why you signed him to a massive extension before he even played a single regular season game for you. So, Linus Ullmark, my guy, it's working out. I always had faith he was going to figure things out, and he's looking great as of late.
He certainly is. Okay, let's get to Travis Green, because after the game, Bruce Garriock and he had a little back and forth. Earlier on, though, Julian McKenzie had a question for him where he answered saying, like, look, I don't want to nitpick this. Travis Green was very forthright in his thought process on this outcome, being we play this 100 games. He started out with 95%, and then he dipped it down to 9 out of 10, which is 90%. So the confidence was waning throughout that press conference as he was getting peppered with questions. Bruce Garriock, though, then kind of poked at him a bit, like, what about the penalty kill? Like what about it? And he's like, I'm not going to nitpick this game. This game, you play it. We play well. We played a great game. And you could tell, obviously, he said it in the preseason. He likes goalies that can stop the puck. 9 saves in a game isn't going to cut it. But how did you think when you saw that Travis Green post-game presser?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel for what Travis Green's going through, because from a coach's perspective, you're like, we outshot them. We played a good game defensively. It's just our PK and our goaltending was not up to snuff, and that cost us the game. So I'm not about to sit here and act like the sky is falling. But
he didn't say that. He didn't say either of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, I mean, maybe he could have approached it like that, but I can see why it would be a bad look for Travis Green to go out in front of the media and destroy this team in front of the media. And then the players are like, well, I mean, I don't know if that was exactly fair. Certain players maybe deserve it, but as a whole, I don't think that was deserved. The issue I had with this, Ross, is, and we've got it on our quote board here, is we win this game 9 times out of 10. We're not math guys on the show, Ross.
Nope.
But Travis, you already played the New York Islanders this year. You played them twice now. You've lost 4-2 both of those times. So really, you win this game 0 out of 2 times.
Well, you want to keep going from that?
Sure. I mean, but that's literally just looking at the Islanders, because this, and we talked about it on the postcast last night, Ross, this was a carbon copy of the loss up against the New York Islanders. The same injuries for the Islanders. Both of them were home games. Anton Forsberg starts both those games, and they lose both of them 4-2.
And they outshoot them in both of them.
Yeah, like, you don't win this game 9 times out of 10. You lost it 0 both times out of both times.
Well, let's look at games where the Ottawa Senators outshoot their opponent by more than 10. Okay? You get a win against the LA Kings. I wouldn't call it very foundational structure-wise, an 8-7 win in overtime. Oh, what about the New York Rangers game where you outshoot them 41-18? Oh, no, they lost that game too. Against Vegas, they outshot them by 8. You win that game 9 times out of 10, right? Not this one. How about in Vegas when they outshot them by 11? You win that game 9 times out of 10, right? Nope, they lost that one too. Let's continue down here. The Philadelphia Flyers game, 37-19. Yeah. The shots on goal. You win that game 9 times out of 10, don't you? Well, they lost that one too, 5-4 in overtime. This has happened consistently throughout the year where the Ottawa Senators lose games that they should win. So I don't really feel like being lectured as a fan about how 9 times out of 10 you win that game. You want to hear a good stat, Pilsy? And I don't know if it's a good stat.
Oh, okay.
In games where the Ottawa Senators hold their opponents to under 20 shots against this year, under 20 shots against. And by the way, in all these games, the Ottawa Senators had more than 30 shots. 4 games. They have 0 regulation wins.
Yeah, that's insane.
0 regulation wins. The only win was against the Boston Bruins, where they had 0 shots in the third period, and they still needed overtime to win that game.
Yeah.
That's their only win. They're 1-2-1 when they hold their opponent to under 20 shots. 9 times out of 10 is a bunch of garbage, because we've seen 9 times that they haven't won this year where they should have.
Yeah, and it was clearly, or it seems like it was a
sounds
message.
Good. It sounds good after a loss. Hey, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we've seen the 10th time too much.
It seems like this was a message throughout the room, because Brady, in his post-game presser, said the same thing. Well, not presser, but locker room scrum, said, we win this game 9 times out of 10. So clearly that was kind of a mantra that was used around the room. And look, I get what they're saying, but Ross, you just laid it out, how you don't get to say that just as a turn of phrase when statistically it's just not even close to being
You just
true.
go to Hockey Reference, team game log, and you can poke so many holes in that balloon.
Yeah.
It's too easy to. You just sort it by shots against, and they can't win when they hold their opponents. Maybe they just need to get peppered, like 38 shots against that the Nashville Predators got, and you probably win more than you lose. Funny enough, the 2 games this year that the Senators have allowed the most shots, they've won both of those, Nashville and San Jose.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's the thing, Ross. As goalies, like, it sounds crazy that, like, allowing more opportunities for your opponent to score sometimes is advantageous for a goalie, because it keeps you in the game, it gives you rhythm, it keeps you fresh. But
I get what you're saying, but the Senators are below 500 when they allow more than 30 shots as well.
yeah, I'm don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to say, hey, maybe this team just needs to allow more shots. That is not what I'm trying to say. All I'm trying to say is, from a goalie's perspective, you're like, I haven't faced a shot or moved or done anything in 15 minutes, and now all of a sudden it's a high danger scoring chance, and I'm like kind of cold and not really into the game, and then you let that goal in and it looks terrible. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know what this team's going to do, Ross, because we can get into this. You just covered the Belleville Senators on the weekend, color commentating with our guy David Foote up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And Matt Sogard is expected to come back sometime this week.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Matt Sogard has not been able to have any kind of success at the NHL level. And we love Mads, but it's like...
No, he needs games. He needs games.
Go to Hockey Reference, Ross, like you said, and look at the stats.
I'll go to hockeyreference.com. He's got 3 less wins than Anton Forsberg this year. He's 1-0, baby.
Yeah.
He's 1-0.
Yeah,
and it was a game he had to mop up Anton Forsberg, allowing 3 goals on 6 shots.
I don't know if that wasn't necessarily a mop-up job, but... Yeah, what I'm getting at is, I don't think the Ottawa Senators goaltending problem can be fixed internally right now. Do I believe
you just start Linus Ullmark for the next 10 games straight?
Yeah, and well, here's the issue, Ross, and I know we're on complete opposite sides of this, but this is what I tried to explain to Martian last night. Let's say you ride Linus Ullmark, and I've made it clear I'm a Linus Ullmark guy. I've got his jersey here.
Yeah.
I'm a Linus Ullmark guy. I believe in him. I want Linus Ullmark to play a lot of these games moving forward. But let's say you ride Linus Ullmark. Things are going great. You play him in back-to-back games. And I'm not suggesting playing a goalie in back-to-back games means you're guaranteed to get a major injury or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. But let's say he plays in back-to-back games and he tweaks something. Not a major injury, but you got a tweak. Now he's out for a week. Now you don't have a choice but to play Forsberg or Matt Sogard or Levi Merilainen, and that's not good either. So that's why I don't love the idea of that. And I know they're professional athletes; they should be able to handle this. But it's like in baseball, like you don't just toss your best pitcher out every single game. That's not how it works.
You know what though, Pillsy? I think that last night's example is the biggest contradiction to that thought process ever. Who's the New York Islanders head coach?
Patrick Waugh.
one of the best goalies of all time, and he was comfortable starting his starter on back-to-back nights. This isn't Justin Peters making a decision, no disrespect. This is the greatest goalie potentially that's ever played the game, and he has no problem putting his starter in there because he knew how valuable that Sorokin's play would be to them winning that game and getting 2 points, and guess what? He looks like a genius, and Travis Green looks like he almost threw the game, putting in a goalie that couldn't even make double-digit saves.
Yeah, and I get that. And Martian had the same point. I know
Did he
where
mention Patrick Waugh?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And I get that, and I respect that. But you look at there's differences here, Ross. The New York Islanders' other goalie was Marcus Hogberg.
I'd take Hogberg over Forsberg right now.
Yeah, I said trade him 1 for 1. And also you look at the fact that Sorokin is a younger goalie than Linus Ullmark, so that helps as well. And you look at the fact, the way I tried to pose this is the New York Islanders are not worried about Marcus Hogberg's confidence or where he stands in the room or using him throughout the rest of the season. The Ottawa Senators have a goalie in Anton Forsberg that they're paying $2.75 million. They want him to be able to come into back-to-back situations and have the confidence to win them a couple games here or there. So they're using this as a, hey, we could have gone with Ullmark back-to-back as well, but we need Anton Forsberg to have confidence that when he needs to come into back-to-back games, he can get a win here. So if they go to Ullmark again, that's a slap in the face to Anton Forsberg being like, we got no faith in you, which statistically that could be fine. But then you ruin the guy's confidence. Then when's he going to play a game again? Because you're going to ride Ullmark the rest of the games, maybe even the next back-to-back. Like essentially,
Belleville's got 6 of the next 8 at home. He could hop into one of those.
What I'm saying, Ross, is the Ottawa Senators were in a different scenario than the New York Islanders, and I don't think it's a black and white. Well, they did it and it worked, so we should have done it and it would have worked. I don't necessarily think that's entirely true. And there's different scenarios to it as well. I don't know. And obviously, I'm fully aware that the way this game turned out, like you mentioned, couldn't have made my take look any worse, and I'll wear that. But I'll go back to my argument. If you ride Linus Ullmark too hard and he gets hurt, you're so screwed that it's not worth the risk.
Still can't believe the Ottawa Senators let Patrick Waugh get away when he was available as a potential head coach.
That one hurts
for this team. All right, on the other side, we'll look at the Ottawa Senators prospect update. We do this every week, and man, Carter Yakimchuk still putting pucks in the back of the net. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. They got 4 stores now. You can check them out at Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. Mary J's offers the best and newest products in the market with many new additions to the menu every single week to keep things fresh. They got competitive pricing. In fact, guys, they're going to price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around when you shop at Mary J's. And they have great customer service. The bud tenders are friendly, and they're always ready to help you out. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. You can usually find him at one of the 4 stores. So go say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Ottawa Senators and all the latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer, and check out their website and get yourself a loyalty card. Check it out today, guys. Mary J's Dispensary.
Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Go check out FanDuel, and new customers will get a $150 bonus bet if you win your first $5 bet. If you haven't already, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It gives you everything you need to place live bets in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com and join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's over at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Pilsy. So the Ottawa Senators allergic to being above 500. They haven't been above 500 since they were 8-7-1 on the season. And this morning they wake up 12-13-2, fifth in the Atlantic Division and 7th in the wild card. They missed out a golden opportunity. If they had won that game last night, they would have been 1 point back of a playoff spot.
Yeah, that game was huge. And like I mentioned, I think in hindsight, I would have rather played Forsberg up against Nashville and then have Allmark up against the Eastern Conference team you're chasing. That might have been a better way to approach that. But Ross, it's sad too. On the broadcast, Claire brought up the fact that the Senators at the start of this game being at 500 was the latest in the year that they've had a 500 record in years. That's the benchmark we're at is, oh my God, we're at 500 hockey in December. This is the best we've ever been in years. Like, that is just...
No, she might have been wrong about that because the Sens finished 2 years ago 39-35-8. Is that not above 500?
Yeah, I swear that was the stat. Maybe
yeah,
maybe I mixed it up.
Yeah, no, it's just strange because the OT losses throw everything for a loop, right? But either way, it wasn't good enough. Tell you that much.
Yeah, jeez.
It just made me think of it because the we want playoffs change. You can't have that if you're not 500. But it's just brutal.
Yeah.
And it might get better, it might not. That's the words of wisdom I got for you today. Next up, the Senators wrap up their homestand against the Ducks. Here's what I'll spin zone this into, Pilsy. We said before the homestand, you better win 3 out of 4. And that's still on the table.
Yeah, definitely. But unfortunately, this is an Anaheim Ducks team that just beat you in a shootout,
though. In a shootout.
Still, they beat you. That's a win. And obviously, adding Jacob Trouba is not huge, but that adds a little reinforcement to that team, makes them tougher to play up against. So I don't... They got to beat them at home. Like, you lose that game on the road, whatever, but you got to be able to beat a team like that at home.
It's going to be the second game on the 4-game road trip for the Ducks. They're coming off a 4-1 loss to Vegas and a 5-1 loss to Minnesota. Those are the 2 games since they beat Ottawa in that shootout. They have 2 goals and allowed 9 in 2 games at home, may I add. So we're going to be watching for that. We'll preview that on Wednesday and tomorrow on Locked On Senators. But now we've got our prospect update. And Carter Yakimchuk, where we always like to start this season, he had a pair of games this weekend. Did not a whole lot in the first one. No points, just 3 shots on goal. But boy, did he come to play in the game in Saskatoon. A goal, 2 assists, so 3 points, and had 6 shots on goal. Pillsy almost had a second goal as well, but ultimately the play ended up in an assist. So Yak is on pace to have a pretty similar offensive season this year as he did last. He's got 10 goals and 16 assists in 22 games. So he's literally played a third of the amount of games that he played last year and has a third of the amount of goals, 10 on his way to 30 like he had last year.
Yeah, the guy loves scoring goals, and the Calgary Hitmen are climbing the standings as a result of that, Ross. They're 5th in the Eastern Conference, and in their last 10, they're 7-2-1. So clearly things are turning around for the Hitmen here. And I know at the start of the year, we kind of talked like, is being with Calgary Hitmen the best spot for him? Maybe we hope he gets traded, etc. But I think they're on a good path here.
And we will see what's next. Yeah, this Tanner House come in and really look good.
Big move.
And elevated the Calgary Hitmen. So they get that result there. And looking at the standings, Calgary's starting to get up in the mix here. They're 5th in the Eastern Conference now, 27 games into the season. And Yakimchuk snubbed from the snubs. He still is not being invited to Team Canada World Junior invite camp or whatever you want to call it, tryouts mostly. Zane Parekh will take the spot of Harrison Brunicky, who will miss the tournament due to injury. So snub to the snub.
And then Easton Cowan and Beckett Seneke are brought in as like emergency replacement guys.
Well, Cowan is missing camp, so Seneca was called in.
Oh, okay. But like either way, like these late addition extra guys, it's insane that they're the extras. Like there's like guys that made the invite to camp should have been the extras in case those guys didn't make it. So I don't hockey Team Canada, if this tournament doesn't go amazing for them, they're going to have to answer a lot of questions on their decision making and who's making those decisions.
Love it. All right. Moving on to other Sens prospects. I'll quickly touch. I did it on the postcast on Saturday. Full thoughts on my weekend covering the Belleville Senators here Friday and Saturday. I'll have a couple notes, though, at the end of today's show. But we do have to get to our guy, Kevin Radler. Awesome dude. If you missed it, go check out our interview with him this past summer. He got into a game this weekend, only played the third period. They were losing to St. Cloud State, but 14 saves on 15 shots. And he's not going to play a whole lot. He is the backup in the University of Nebraska, Omaha. But man, 2 games so far. He's faced 56 shots on goal, and he's got a .932 save percentage. So nice start to his college career for Kevin Radler.
Yeah, when he's getting opportunities, he's doing well. So we love to see that. Great kid.
Yeah, certainly. Let's stick in college where Theo Wahlberg has picked up his defensive performance this year. Still looking to get on the score sheet. Last year, popped off offensively with 21 points as a freshman in 38 games. He's got 4 assists through 13 games, had no points this weekend. Now, last year was -10. This year, he's +8. So he does have that going for him. And let's stick with the American kids for now because Javon Moore had his best weekend as a USHL player, Pillsy.
Yeah, Javon Moore has had success in his spot with the Sioux Falls Stampede, and they're looking like a nice team, Ross. They're on a 5-game win streak, and in the last 2 games, Javon Moore has 2 goals and an assist, so he's been a big part of that as well.
Yeah, had a power play goal on Saturday, and then on Friday had 5 shots on goal, a goal, an assist. So love seeing him doing his thing. He's heading to the University of Minnesota next season. In the OHL for the London Knights, Blake Montgomery, goal and an assist this weekend. Now, London's big win streak was snapped on Friday night against the Oshawa Generals. They lose that game 5-3. Montgomery got smoked in that game, by the way, cutting over the blue line. Yeah, oh yeah. But he did score a goal as well, had 3 shots on goal. He's up to 12 points in 12 games now since joining London. Nice little move, switch up for him, eh?
Yeah, and he's been hot lately, Ross. He's on a 5-game point streak, and in those 5 games, how about 10 points?
Yeah,
not too shabby.
That's decent. Very, very good.
Let's stick in the OHL, Ross. We got a lot of Sens in the OHL these days. Thomas Humera, obviously, you would have liked to see him in Belleville right now, but he's with the Brantford Bulldogs. And hey, if you're going to get sent down to the OHL in a position like him, you might as well have success and show that you're not only going to be at that level, but you can dominate. In 19 games, he's got 18 points. So basically a point per game guy with the Brantford Bulldogs. So you love to see that from Humra.
Yeah, absolutely. And perfectly leads us into watching Belleville this weekend up from the Sky Press Box in Canada Life Center. And Jorian Donovan was the young defenseman in there. And I actually thought he looked pretty decent, all things considered. He wasn't like pushing the pace or anything, but I liked what I saw from Jorian Donovan. Now, other defensemen who are in Belleville right now, like Wyatt Wiley had a goal. I didn't really know much about him. He's on a one-way.
What a name.
Yeah, I know.
He had to be a dub player, right?
Oh, you got to think so.
That's a WHL name if we ever seen one. Bringing back that old bit from Ross and I covering prospect profiles.
He is, Everett Silvertips.
Yeah.
There you go. Everett, Washington, he's from. He played 5 years in the WHL.
He's from Everett and played with the Silvertips?
Yeah, he did.
Nice.
And he's 25 years old, played a few years for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, Ontario Reign, and now with Belleville, 12 games. But he's not one of the Sens prospects I want to focus on. Who I do is Donovan Sabrango. That guy is too good for the AHL. He's so strong physically and makes great reads throughout. I thought he looked awesome this weekend. Up front, Angus Crookshank and Zach McEwen is so good. He had 8 shots on goal on Saturday night. Just a complete weapon. Had 2 goals. First one, no celly at all. They were down 3-0 in the game. And he's just like, man, whatever. And then he scored again. And then he sallied a bit. And they end up winning. They were down 3-0 in both games. And came back and won 6-3. And then 4-3 in a shootout. So once the bleeding stopped at 3, they just shut it down after that. And it was cool to see Wyatt Bongiovanni get the game-tying goal on Saturday with under a minute left because he was traded for future considerations. They wanted to get rid of him. So nice little revenge for Bonjo.
Yeah, and Zach McEwen had 2 breakaways the game before us. Like, he could have had a 4-goal weekend. The guy loves playing in the AHL. I want to cover a couple more OHL guys, if unless you want to go more into Belleville.
Last one is Stephen Halliday had the shootout winner. Go watch the highlight of that. It was so silky.
Yeah, you love to see that. A disher with a shootout goal like that. It's incredible. Let's go to the Kitchener Sens, Ross. Lucas Elenis. This guy is lighting it up. He's got 14 goals in 29 games. He hasn't had any goals or points in the last couple games for the Kitchener Rangers, but the Rangers are on a 6-game winning streak. They've been one of the hottest teams in the NHL, other than the London Knights, obviously. And then Matthew Andonovski, the captain for the Kitchener Rangers, he's just doing his thing, playing good defensive hockey. He did have an assist up against the Sioux Greyhounds 2 games ago, but he sits at 7 points in 29 games. And the Kitchener Rangers, they're looking to make some noise this season.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what they can do there. Any other ones you want to touch on? I'm fresh out.
Nope, that wraps it up for me.
All right, perfect. Well, hope you enjoyed today's Monday episode. Let us know how you would fix this penalty kill for the Ottawa Senators, because it is so pathetic to watch right now. So let us know your ideas. We'll continue on tomorrow on Locked On Senators. Appreciate everybody for liking, watching, engaging, and listening to the show. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.